Guten Tag, German learners! This lesson is all about German sentence structure. If you want to know where to put that subject, verb, and object in your German sentences, then this lesson is for you. So where do you put your sentence elements in a German sentence? Well, let's start with the basics. It's just like English. You put first your subject, your verb, and your object. So here we have the German basic word order: subject, verb, object. That means that the subject of the sentence comes first, then you have the verb, and then you have your direct object. So for example, I drink water. I is the subject, drink is the verb, and water is the direct object. Ich trinke Wasser auf Deutsch. Ich, the subject, trinke, the verb, and Wasser, the direct object. So far, it's pretty easy. Let's look at a few example sentences with the simple subject-verb-object format. Ich trinke Wasser. I drink water. Isst einen Apfel. He eats an apple. Sie liest ein Buch. She reads a book. Wir sehen den Hund. We see the dog. And in each of these sentences, we have our subject, ich, sie, and wir. Then we have a verb, trinken, trinke, essen, isst, lesen, liest, sehen. And then we have a direct object, the Wasser, einen Apfel, ein Buch, or den Hund. And what if you want to ask a question in German? Then it's a little bit different. So in English, we have do or did. We have this word for asking questions, but we don't have that in German. So what do we put first? You want to replace the subject and verb. You want to put the subject and verb in different positions. So start with the verb, then the subject, then the object. So let's look at those sentences as questions. Trinkst du Wasser? Drink you water? Do you drink water? Isst einen Apfel? Eats he an apple? Does he eat an apple? Liest sie ein Buch? Reads she a book? Does she read a book? Sehen wir den Hund? See us the dog? Do we see the dog? So you see it's without any do or did. We just start with the verb, then the subject, and then the object. So it's a little bit different. It sounds a little bit strange at first, but it's actually easier because you don't have a do or a did. So that was the easy part. But what if you have a modal verb? A word like können, can, wollen, want, dürfen, may, müssen, must, sollen, should, or möchten, want to. And then you have another verb in addition to that. Then what do you do? Where do they go? First, we're going to put the subject as before. Then we're going to conjugate the modal verb. So ich kann, not ich können, but ich kann. Or will, sie muss, wir möchten. Conjugate the second verb, the modal verb. Then we're going to put the direct object. Deutsch, einen Apfel, ein Buch, den Hund. And then at the very end of the sentence, we're going to put the unconjugated verb. Sprechen, essen, lesen, sehen. In its infinitive form, so in its original form. And that's how we deal with the modal verbs with regular verbs together. Let's look at some of these example sentences. Ich kann Deutsch sprechen. I can German speak. So in English, we have it the other way around. I can speak German. We have our verbs together. and then German we would put at the end. But in German, we have our direct object here in the middle after the first verb. And that's because we have a rule in German that the verb has to be in the second or the last position of the sentence. So everything else will have to come in between here. It can't be before kann. You can't have words after sprechen unless there are other verbs. So we have to take note of that rule that the verb has to be in second or last position. And here we have, will einen Apfel essen. He wants to eat an apple. Sie muss ein Buch lesen. She has to read a book. Wir möchten den Hund sehen. We want to see the dog. So that's how we handle modal verbs. Now it gets even a little trickier. What if we have 3 verbs? What if you have, for example, a modal verb or 2 modal verbs and then another verb? And they're all in the same sentence. Which one goes where? Well, first, as usual, we're going to start with the subject. Then we're going to put the conjugated modal verb as before. Then our direct object or prepositional phrase, whatever, shall go in the middle. And then it depends which verb is the main action verb and which one's more of a helping supporting verb. So we're going to take the main unconjugated verb, and then the very last we're going to put the unconjugated helping verb. So you have to decide which verb is going to be more important. Let's look at some examples, like Ich muss im Supermarkt einkaufen gehen. I must go shopping at the supermarket. Ich muss, our subject and conjugated modal verb. Im Supermarkt is where, our direct object. Einkaufen is our main verb. And gehen is a supporting verb. So it's going to be last. Ich muss im Supermarkt einkaufen gehen. And usually we don't need the gehen part, we just say Ich muss im Supermarkt einkaufen. Let's look at another example. Du willst die deutsche Sprache sprechen können. You want to be able to speak the German language. Du willst, you want. Then we have direct object, die deutsche Sprache. And then we will have sprechen, which is the main verb. Du willst sprechen, not du willst können. So it has to make sense without that helping verb also. Du willst die deutsche Sprache sprechen. You want to speak the German language. Not you want to be able to the German language. You want to be able to the German language by itself doesn't make so much sense. You want to be able the German language can, or something like that. It doesn't make sense. So we use sprechen as the main verb. And können is like an optional verb. Yeah, it's optional. Let's look at a final example. Wir müssen umziehen wollen. We must want to move. Wir müssen umziehen wollen. Here we have subject and conjugated verb. And there's no direct object, so we just go to our unconjugated. We go directly to our unconjugated verbs in order of importance. Most important one first. And helping verb could also be another modal verb. And let's look at one final layer of complexity, or maybe it's easier now. What do we do with German word order when we have separable prefixes? First, we're going to start with our subject and the conjugated verb without its prefix. We're going to take that prefix off. Then we're going to put our direct object or prepositional phrase in the middle. And then at the end, we're going to put the separable prefix. So, ich stehe 6 Uhr auf, for example. I get up at 6 o'clock. Ich stehe 6 Uhr auf. And the verb aufstehen has a separable prefix, auf. You'll have to learn, when you learn new verbs, learn if the prefix is separable or inseparable. And that will help you determine how to construct these sentences. Let's look right below here. Ich muss 6 Uhr aufstehen. So let's say we add a modal verb in there. Then it's not being separated anymore. Then we're conjugating our modal verb. Subject ich, conjugated verb muss. 6 Uhr, prepositional phrase. Aufstehen, to get up. So here, in this case, we don't need to separate it. Only if it's the only verb in the sentence, then you need to separate it. Let's look at another example. Zieht morgen He's moving tomorrow. Zieht morgen Umziehen is our separable prefix verb. It's our only verb, so we will separate the prefix. If we had muss morgen umziehen, and we have two verbs, then we don't separate it anymore because it's at the end, it's unconjugated. I hope that gives you a better understanding of how to work with German sentence structure. Be sure to come back every week for another German lesson, and catch up on my daily shorts for some German learning fun, tips, and new vocabulary. Also, check out the community page if you want to vote for next week's topic or you want to give some suggestions for videos you'd like to see. You can let me know there. If you want more German learning resources, go to mygermanizelife.com. Find more German lessons, pronunciation, exercises, and flashcards that you can download for free and print. If you're a German teacher, you might like my German teaching resources. The German teaching resources have one-of-a-kind artwork with reading comprehension exercises, vocabulary lists, flashcards, and everything you need to teach an interactive 45-minute class. I hope to see you again soon, German learners. Bis bald. Auf Wiedersehen.